Welcome back to the podcast Forest and Climate Change. I am Elena Hidalgo, a Ph.D. in biology and genetics specialist, and today I'm joining you for Chapter 8 of this series with the title of Research and Silviculture. So far, we have seen what forests are like and what their functions are. In this episode, number 18 of the series, we'll look at how we can combine the use of the resources offered by the forest with their sustainable conservation. To maintain a long-term balance between forest use and conservation, we need to know forests very well. In this purpose, we have new diagnostic technologies that can help us make the most appropriate forestry decisions in each case. And so, we will see, for example, that cutting down trees isn't always harmful. To ensure that resources are not depleted, it is necessary to balance what we extract from the forest with what it is capable of producing. And this must be done in a sustainable way that can be maintained over the long term. This is the field of silviculture, the science dedicated to studying and defining the most appropriate human interventions for each forest. This allows us to continue obtaining the products and services we need without compromising the future of the ecosystem. In this context, the first step is to study the natural dynamics of each forest, based on the biodiversity it contains and the risks it presents, among other considerations. Subsequently, we will prescribe the most appropriate treatments in each case, taking into account our objectives and adjusting them to each area and forest type. Thus, we will determine whether to remove some trees and which ones, what we call thinning, how to control the undergrowth, whether to cut down trees in certain areas to regenerate the forest, and so on. Forest dynamics are naturally altered by various disturbances, such as fire, windstorms, or certain pests and diseases that often affect large areas, or more local disturbances, such as the felling of trees, damage caused by lightning, etc. These disturbances open spaces in the forest that allow the establishment of new generations of trees, and these gaps can also be created by carrying out planned fellings. The size and scope of these fellings will depend, among other parameters, on the amount of light and other resources required by the species present. Thus, forest management is carried out with different silviculture treatments, such as felling and pruning, that depend on the age of the trees, on the species to which they belong, and they can have different objectives. For example, improving their health, preventing fungal and insect damage, reducing the risk of fires, improving soil drainage, or producing wood or products such as mushroom resins and many others, which are globally called non-timber forest products, or NTPS. We see, therefore, that for silvicultural planning to be correct, a thorough understanding of forest species and their natural dynamics is required, as well as their health status, as we saw in previous chapters of this series. One of the great challenges in forest science is understanding the state of forests, the species present, the total number of trees and their distribution by species, their vitality, their height and level of development, the volume of wood they produce, and the amount of carbon they sequester. To obtain information of all these aspects, we have a battery of innovative technologies that allows us to understand all these variables with great precision and in a very short time. Two of these are LiDAR and the ground scanner. The LiDAR system is a laser coupled to an aircraft with a GPS. Depending on how the light beam bounces on the ground, very detailed information is collected on the vegetation present in the study area. How much of the land is covered by tree or shrub vegetation, the height of that vegetation, whether or not there are young trees, which will indicate that the forest is regenerating, etc. The terrestrial scanner technique generates a three-dimensional image of a tree or a forest, which tell us about the tree's vigor, the quantity and characteristic of its wood, the amount of carbon sequestered in the tree, among many other parameters. And that's all for now. Thank you very much for listening to the Forest and Climate Change podcast.